Hi ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SA Accounting Academy. Here's a short clip on one of our previous webinars. I hope that you really do enjoy it.
Good day ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the South African Accounting Academy, a warm welcome to the monthly compliance and legislation update for August 2019. My name is Lettie Janse van Vuuren and I will be your facilitator for the next 2 hours. Okay, on our first slide, you should all have your slides in front of you. You're going to be watching the video. So on your first slide, you'll see that's the welcome slide. We'll be dealing with the logistics. Just very quickly, remember the webinar is supplemented by the slideshow presentation that you see in front of you. Right, let's start off on the agenda. You'll see only one accounting item, one employment law, one other laws and regulations, no general no announcements and news releases this month. So really our focus is going to be on the auditing and other assurance services, 3 very important items issued by URBA, 5 items issued by CIPC and the company's tribunal, 1 employment law item, very interesting, just looking at following on what we did last month regarding the domestic employees. Other laws and regulations, there's basically just the summaries, the big 5 and the little 5. So I've given you all the legislation summaries at your convenience, or at your fingertips for your convenience. And then we move into the taxation side of things, 9 items, not that much. And really there isn't much in it except for the draft bills that were issued. Right, so we'll be spending some time on the draft bills. Under regulator news, we have a whopping 17 items this month. And under the regulator news, you'll see that we've got some URBA, some SAICA, some Financial Intelligence Center. The majority of items there that are very important, there's one item from SAICA that's very important, and that's regarding the legal profession changes that are relevant specifically to auditors and accountants. There are some general notices that were issued by the Financial Intelligence Center, and then also some just normal interesting press releases issued by SARS. Right. We will also be looking at the URBA newsletter. The URBA newsletter that was issued was sort of released very inconspicuously. And I was quite shocked when I read the first time through the newsletter. And I thought, where does this come from? I haven't heard of this ever before. Normally when I go through the newsletter, it's like, yeah, I've done that in MCLU, done that, I've read that, yes, I remember hearing about this, check. And when I saw the new CPD policy, I was like, hold the phone, where does this come from? So we will be stopping at some interesting items there, because the gut feel is that if URBA have changed their CPD policy, the way that it's measurable, there will be a lot of other professional bodies that may follow suit. Okay, specifically in our profession, because we also have to try and protect ourselves. So it's all about proficiency. So we'll be spending some time on that, right? Like I said, under the general announcements, nothing new this month, right? So let's then get stuck right into the accounting side. And this month, the only item we've got is our summary of the IFRS monthly news. And the items that I have marked in bold for you are the ones where I really want to stop for a bit and just tell you about the ones that I deem interesting and important. If I can take you to the monthly material quickly, to the webinar material, I just wanted to show you, if you look at number 1, there's a speech. Number 2 says IASB proposes amendments to accounting for deferred tax. So let's go to the monthly webinar material and look at the detail that you have here. Each one of these items, there are 9 items on this month's agenda for the news summary. On top of this, you'll see that if there's a speech, there's a link. There's the link to the speech. So we haven't downloaded it because this is not everybody's cup of tea, but the link is there should you want to use it. The second one that I've highlighted in yellow, everywhere where I mark in my material with yellow is where I think I want to highlight things for you. So it's normally things that I see as very important. And you might see that I've got somewhere in the material, I've got like a little red lightning bolt thingy that I marked on the left-hand side of the page, where I think items are very important. So this item deals with amendments to accounting for deferred tax. And all they've done is they've published the proposed changes now for comment. Okay, that's to the IFRS standard for income tax, which is IAS 12. And the amendments basically look at just clarifying how companies will account for deferred tax on leases and decommissioning obligations. Right. Decommissioning obligations is where they basically sort of dissolving obligations that don't exist anymore. So how to account for that deferred tax. An additional IASB meeting, which is the International Accounting Standards Board. July IASB podcast published. You can have a look at that. Number 5 is the important one here. They are now starting with a quarterly podcast on the IFRS Interpretations Committee discussions. Now, this is where I find a lot of value, because the discussions on the interpretations is where it's open to seeing the gaps and not seeing the gaps, right? If you are drafting financials, you need to know how to use those standards and how to interpret the standards. If you are an auditor and you are expressing an opinion, well, you also need to know how to apply the standards, right? So there are some certain interpretations, and this discussion this month is very specifically centered around IFRS 9, IFRS 15, and IFRS 16. And then very interesting, they're a little bit about accounting for holdings of cryptocurrencies. Now remember, we don't have our financial regulations yet. Remember a couple of months back we spoke about that and how that relates specifically to cryptocurrencies. At this stage, how does somebody account for holding cryptocurrencies? Basically, there's no way of knowing at this stage. What if people hold the cryptocurrencies for asset appreciation? So to increase in value. If they don't use it as money to live off of, who's going to know about this ever? So this talks a little bit about how the accounting for the holding of cryptocurrencies will be tackled on an international basis. Remember, we don't have anything in South Africa on this yet. Right. Then we've got a webinar, right? There's an overview of the exposure draft amendments to IFRS 17 on insurance contracts. You can watch the live webinar there if you want. There's a link. Then this is quite an interesting one, a webinar on curing of a credit impaired financial asset. So this is an impaired financial asset in terms of IFRS 9. And what it's all about is where a credit impaired financial asset is subsequently either paid in full or it's no longer impaired. So in other words, it's cured. That doesn't mean it's matured. It means it's no longer impaired. It's no longer ill. It's not sick. It's cured. That's what they use. Right. And those really are the only 3 items. And then there's a webcast on the agenda decision, still on the due process handbook, and then IFRS taxonomy formula link base. That's also available. So it's just an update to the 2018 one. So that's that. All right. Let's get back to the slides. Remember at the bottom of the slide, I would always say in purple, the full summary has been included in the webinar material, and there's links to the supporting and resource material that is available to you. Right. So really you should be using the slides as your base, and then refer to the material where necessary for detail, and then to the rest of the documents. Under our auditing and other assurance services, let's jump straight into that one. The first one deals with the wording for the auditor's report on what? This is for engagements on the compliance of attorneys' trust accounts with the Act and the rules that exist for the attorney's profession. The problem with this is there has been a change in the 2019 financial year. Right. This document was issued by OBA, and they refer to a document that was issued by the LPC. The LPC, the Legal Practice Council. Right. So this basically talks about the implementation of the rules and the Act on the 1st of November means now that where auditors previously they performed the assurance engagement in terms of the Attorneys Act and the uniform rules.
I hope that you enjoyed that video. For more of our webinar videos, go to www.accountingacademy.co.za. Thank you and have a lovely day.